Okay guys, we're going to be talking through impingement syndrome, and we're going to be talking through primary and also secondary. So just as a reminder, impingement syndrome is basically this, it's usually the supraspinatus muscle that as the person raises their shoulder, either in flexion or abduction, this tendon is getting pinched up under the acromion process, okay? Some of the most common reasons are either anatomical, where this acromion process, instead of being angled up, is very flat, leaving very little space, or that it's hooked and it kind of hooks down, or that there are bone spurs growing. Secondary impingement is usually more of like a biomechanical overuse injury or a postural problem. Because with poor posture, what happens is this humeral head slides forward and up in the socket, and again, it's going to make it more likely that we start impinging, okay? So let's talk about primary impingement first. So primary impingement, the patient is going to present with a painful arc usually, or at least pain. This is my dog. Come here, Bella. Come here, say hi. Come here. Oh. Say hi to everybody, Miss Bella. Yeah, I wish you could help. You would be a good little patient. I love this little thing. Little furry monster. Okay. Primary impingement, your patient is going to complain of pain in the shoulder. Usually kind of a dull throbbing ache. It's going to hurt mostly when they get up close to 90 degrees of flexion or abduction, and it's going to hurt. They may complain of weakness. They may complain of their arm fatiguing and arm dropping. Secondary impingement, they're going to complain of exactly the same stuff. You really won't know what type of impingement they have until the doctor does x-rays, okay? So if we have a primary impingement, first thing we want to do is we want to work on their posture. We want to stretch anything that's tight, that's keeping them in a poor posture. We want to strengthen the rotator cuff, okay? By strengthening the rotator cuff below 90 degrees, we're going to restore normal body biomechanics around the shoulder, and hopefully we're going to recreate muscle balance around the shoulder, which is going to make them more functional and maybe get the arm to move in a better way so that they're not impinging all the time, okay? So I have my patient right here, and if my cameraman will come here. Okay, we might start, stay over here for me.
Oh, my apologies.
We might start with some joint mobs. Again, if this patient has been in pain, they might be protecting this arm and cradling it and holding it. So we might need to start loosening up this glenohumeral joint, okay? So we could put the heel of our hand right at the head of the humerus, and we could do posterior glides. Okay, posterior glide was going to help with flexion, so that would be nice. We could do long axis traction, where we're helping to stretch out the inferior capsule, and that will help this humeral head slide down a little bit, and again, avoid this acromion process. We might start with some passive range of motion, again in the pain-free range, usually below 90. Just for some neuromuscular re-education. Well, not passive. Passive would just be for synovial fluid and prevent adhesions. From there, we would go to active assisted and then active. Again, just we're trying to restore muscle balance, okay? When we can do some setting exercises, we might need to do some setting exercises. So the easiest way to do shoulder setting is to have a wall or a door and use a short lever. So instead of having the arm out straight, have it bent. And I would do flexion, and basically I tell my patient push in, like you're trying to do this motion, but the wall's in the way. 6 to 10 second hold, a set of 10. I could do abduction. I'll switch arms and face you. Elbow, if this was a straight wall, I would have my whole arm next to the wall and I'm pushing out. Again, I'm telling my patient, this is the motion you're trying to do, but the column's in the way or the wall's in the way. 6 to 10 second hold. I can do extension, same way. They're pushing back. Internal and external rotation, a column or a doorway is really good because all I want is my hand to touch. So if I was going to do external rotation, it would be here, and I'm telling my patient, this is the motion you're trying to do. So they would just be pushing their hand into the wall. And then for internal rotation, they would be here and pushing in like they were trying to close their coat. Okay. See what I missed. Okay. We might do multi-angle isometrics. Okay. So if I had my patient, I'm going to have him sit. You can tell I didn't have a human body right now. Okay. If he was having pain, say right at 60 degrees, okay, we could practice that motion. I could cue him to keep his shoulders down, and I could say just try to hold here and try to lift up off my hand. Hold it again 6 to 10 seconds. Once he could do that, I could try some different angles. We're going to stay below 90. Okay, this whole phase, we really want to stay below 90 because if we keep going above 90, we're going to keep irritating. I think I just broke him. We're going to keep irritating those tendons. They need time to calm down. They need time to heal. Okay, how do we know when we can progress? Well, they shouldn't have pain up to 90 anymore. Okay, they should be able to go to 90 pain-free. They should have normal scapulohumeral rhythm, which means that their scapula aren't going out really early. You shouldn't see scapular movement until about 80, 85 degrees of abduction or flexion. What else? I said pain-free. Oh, no compensation. They're not cheating with the current exercises. Okay, when they've met all of those criteria, we can go to phase 2 or mod phase. As always, mod phase is dedicated strengthening. We're still going to be strengthening rotator cuff. Okay, so we'd started them with setting exercises. Hopefully we had gotten them to do some active range of motion. Now is where we can do some resistance. Okay, so we can do extension. We can do abduction. We can do external rotation. We can do internal rotation. And just let go. You can do flexion, okay? One thing to remember, whenever you're using TheraBand, it should be tight at the beginning. If I'm here and I don't get resistance until the very end of the range, I'm not getting the full benefit, okay? It should have a little resistance at the start, and the resistance should get more as we go through the range, and that way I have to control it all the way through the range, okay? Rotator cuff. We can also start some movement above 90 degrees. So now we could start some active movement above 90. Once they can do that pain-free, we could add resistance. Once we've done all that, then we do scapular stabe. Okay, that's still in this phase, but we have to have started rotator cuff strengthening, and they have to be doing well with that, because again, that's our muscle balance before we start doing scapular stabe. And you have that whole video on scapular stabe stuff, okay? To get out of this phase, to get out of mod, they should have full range of motion. They should have at least 4 out of 5 strength, and they should not have any pain anymore. Then we go to min phase. Min phase is coordination. Min phase is triplanar movement. Min phase is plyometrics. And yes, you can do plyometrics on your arms. If anyone has ever done a military push-up or push-up with a clap, that, anything where you're putting explosive pressure off your arms or onto your arms, anything where someone had to catch their weight with their arms, that would be a plyometric, okay? Throwing activities, hitting with a racket, okay? Those would all be min phase activities, okay? Again, sky's the limit on those. Let's talk about secondary impingement. Secondary impingement is a lot more to do with muscle imbalance and posture. So here's a really good trick. As you look at somebody and they're relaxed and their arms are hanging at their sides, look at their thumbs. Do you see right now my thumbs are pointing in? That's because I am rounding my shoulders, okay? If I correct my posture, look what happens to my thumbs. Now my thumbs are pointing straight ahead, okay? If somebody is rounding, internally rotating at the shoulder, they are much more likely to be impinging, okay? So postural correction is really important. So max phase, I'm gonna be stretching those pecs, okay? I'm gonna be asking them to learn how to use their scapular muscles. We're gonna start with scap stave, okay? I'm trying to get those endurance muscles to keep the scapula where they're supposed to be, not protracted and elevated, okay? So I start with scap stave. You saw that video already, okay? Once they can hold their scapula steady and we have a nice base off of which to work, then we can start doing crazy stuff with our arms. So only then do we go into strengthening the rotator cuff, okay? So with secondary impingement, we start with stretching, we start with scap stave. When they have no pain up to 90 and they're not cheating, same criteria as before, we can go into mod phase. Mod phase, now we're strengthening rotator cuff, okay? And using rotator cuff and scapula kind of together. You have to be able to move your arms in open kinetic chain. The scapula is working. Again, once they have full range of motion with no pain, they're not cheating, then we can go into min phase and we can do all the crazy, crazy min phase stuff, okay? The exercises for these two are exactly the same, they just come in a different order. Primary impingement, we start with rotator cuff strengthening, then move to scap stave. Secondary impingement, start with scap stave, then move to rotator cuff strengthening. Min phase is exactly the same for both of these. You would not be able to tell the difference between these two patient populations in min phase. Okay. One more just technique I was going to show you just because it's one of my favorites and I've had really good luck with it. It's for really secondary impingement, somebody who has a tendency to kind of hang out up here. One of the things we really want is to teach the patient how to depress their scapula and also how to let the humeral head glide inferiorly. And that's hard for some people to do. So if you have them put their hand on the back of a chair or a tabletop and have them press down and press down and press down and press down and press down the whole time they're coming back, and then press down, press down, press down the whole time they're coming up, what you get is some scapular depression and some glide of your femoral, your humeral head. I said femoral, of your humeral head. It's a nice self-mobilization technique. And what I found is either this works great or it doesn't work at all, and you'll know almost immediately. A patient that this is working for, when they do it, they will say, oh, that feels so good. I love the way that feels. There is no pain when I do that. Okay, someone who it's not going to work for, it hurts when they do it. If it hurts when they do it, that is not an exercise for them. Okay, they're not mobilizing correctly. Okay, so try it. You'll know immediately. You try it once. If it feels great, have the patient keep doing it. If it doesn't work, have it. Stop it. think that's everything. We'll keep talking about this, and you guys have some homework where you're going to come up with your own interventions. Thank you.